Hello, my friend. I'm happy you're here with me. Let's gently settle into this quiet space and just relax. Before we begin, one controls one of the largest nuclear arsenals on Earth. The other rules one of the most isolated countries in the world. And somehow, they now need each other. Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong Un come from two very different countries. Russia is a vast nuclear power with a long military history. North Korea is smaller, isolated, heavily sanctioned, and surrounded by powerful rivals. At first glance, they should have very little in common. But look closer, and the story changes. Both men lead countries that have spent years under intense pressure from the United States and its allies. Both have faced sanctions, military tension, diplomatic isolation, and constant warnings from the West. And over time, something unexpected happened. The more pressure they faced, the closer they moved toward each other. So how did Putin and Kim Jong Un go from distant leaders to strategic partners? The answer has less to do with friendship and much more to do with war. That is where our story begins. To understand Putin and Kim Jong Un today, we have to go back to the end of World War II. In 1945, Korea was freed from Japanese rule, but it did not become one united country. The peninsula was divided into two zones. The Soviet Union controlled the north. The United States controlled the south. But here is the part many people forget. North Korea did not simply appear on its own. The Soviet Union played a major role in helping build the state that Kim Jong Un would one day inherit. In the northern half, Moscow supported a young communist leader named Kim Il-sung. With Soviet political, military, and economic backing, he built a new government. In 1948, North Korea was officially established. The Soviet Union helped train its military, develop its industry, and strengthen the new state. So, the connection between Russia and North Korea did not begin with Putin and Kim Jong Un. It began generations earlier, at the very birth of North Korea itself. But that new country would not remain at peace for long. Just 2 years later, the division of Korea would explode into war. In 1950, the fragile division of Korea exploded into war. North Korean forces crossed the border and moved south, hoping to reunify the peninsula under one government. The United States and other United Nations forces quickly entered the war to support South Korea. China later joined on the side of North Korea, while the Soviet Union provided important military support behind the scenes. For 3 years, the Korean Peninsula became one of the bloodiest battlefields of the Cold War. Cities were destroyed. Families were separated. Millions of soldiers and civilians were killed or wounded. In 1953, the fighting stopped with an armistice, but no permanent peace treaty was signed. Korea remained divided. The North stayed closely tied to the communist world. The South became a strong ally of the United States. From that moment on, the peninsula became more than a border between two Korean states. It became a front line between two rival worlds, and for North Korea, America was no longer just a distant foreign power. It had become the enemy. That memory would remain deeply embedded in North Korea for generations. But decades later, something happened that Pyongyang never expected. Its most powerful supporter disappeared. Then, in 1991, everything changed. The Soviet Union collapsed. For North Korea, this was not just the fall of a distant superpower. It meant losing one of the most important countries that had supported it for decades. The new Russian government, under Boris Yeltsin, wanted better relations with the West. Moscow reduced aid, trade, and political support for Pyongyang. North Korea suddenly found itself far more isolated. At the same time, the country was entering a severe economic crisis. Food shortages became worse. Industry weakened. Energy supplies became harder to secure. The relationship with Moscow, once built on military cooperation and communist solidarity, became much colder. For years, Russia seemed more interested in improving ties with South Korea and the United States than protecting its old partner in the North. North Korea had lost a powerful backer. For a moment, it looked like the old relationship was finished. Then a new man took power in Moscow. Vladimir Putin had no intention of letting Russia remain weak, and he would look at North Korea very differently. Putin had watched Russia lose influence after the collapse of the Soviet Union. He did not see that decline as something Russia should simply accept. Unlike Boris Yeltsin, Putin wanted Russia to regain influence in places Moscow had once considered important. North Korea was one of them. In 2000, Putin traveled to Pyongyang and met Kim Jong Un, becoming the first Russian leader to visit North Korea. The message was clear: Russia was returning. Putin did not see North Korea only as a poor and isolated country. He saw strategic value. North Korea sat beside China, South Korea, Japan, and close to major American military interests in Asia. For Moscow, rebuilding ties with Pyongyang meant gaining influence in a region dominated by powerful rivals. The old relationship was coming back, but this time it would be built less on communist ideology and much more on strategy. Russia was back, but the man who would completely transform this relationship had not yet taken power in Pyongyang. In 2011, Kim Jong Un became the new leader of North Korea after the death of his father, Kim Jong Il. He was young, inexperienced, and surrounded by powerful military officials. Kim had inherited a country much weaker economically than its enemies, and he faced a brutal reality. Weakness could be fatal. North Korea could not compete with the United States through money, technology, or conventional military power. So he focused on the one weapon that could change the balance: nuclear weapons. Under Kim, North Korea accelerated its missile and nuclear programs. The country carried out new tests, developed longer-range missiles, and pushed closer to the ability to strike distant targets. The response was severe. The United States, the United Nations, and other countries imposed stronger sanctions. North Korea became even more isolated. But from Kim's point of view, isolation was less dangerous than weakness. He believed nuclear weapons could protect his government, discourage foreign attack, and force stronger countries to negotiate with him. For Kim Jong Un, nuclear power was not only about military strength, it became a tool for survival. Kim had found his survival weapon, Soon, Putin would begin facing a different kind of pressure from the West. At first, Putin did not completely reject the West. Russia still worked with the United States and Europe on several issues. But over time, the relationship began to break down. Putin became increasingly angry about NATO expansion, Western influence near Russia's borders, and political changes in former Soviet states. The war in Georgia in 2008 deepened the divide. Then came Ukraine. In 2014, Russia annexed Crimea, and the United States and Europe responded with sanctions. From that point, trust collapsed quickly. Moscow began to see the West less as a partner and more as a strategic threat. And as Russia moved further away from Washington and Europe, Putin started looking for other countries willing to work with him. North Korea was becoming one of those options, but Putin and Kim still had not tested each other face to face. In 2019, Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong Un finally met face to face. The meeting took place in Vladivostok, in Russia's Far East. For Kim, the timing was important. His talks with the United States had stalled, and he needed more options. North Korea could not rely only on China. Kim wanted stronger ties with another major power that could offer political support, economic cooperation, and diplomatic influence. For Putin, the meeting was also useful. Russia wanted to show that it still had a role to play on the Korean Peninsula and in the wider balance of power in Asia. The two leaders discussed nuclear tensions, sanctions, security, and economic cooperation. But this was not yet a deep alliance. It was a careful first step. Putin was testing how useful North Korea could become. Kim was testing how far Russia was willing to go. Their first meeting looked important, but in reality, very little changed. Russia and North Korea were still cautious partners. The real turning point was still 3 years away. Then came 2022, and suddenly everything changed. In 2022, Russia launched its full-scale invasion, and the relationship between Moscow and the West collapsed almost completely. The United States and Europe imposed massive sanctions. Western companies left Russia. Military and economic pressure increased. And suddenly, something North Korea had spent decades building became far more valuable to Moscow. Ammunition, missiles, and military production. Putin now needed new partners. Russia needed trade, political support, and military supplies from countries willing to ignore Western pressure. North Korea was one of them. Kim Jong Un also had something to gain. His country needed food, fuel, money, technology, and stronger diplomatic support. For the first time, the interests of Moscow and Pyongyang matched more clearly than ever before. The Ukraine war did not create the relationship between Putin and Kim, but it transformed it. What had once been cautious diplomacy was now becoming strategic cooperation. By this point, the relationship between Putin and Kim Jong Un was no longer just about diplomacy. It was about exchange. Russia needed things North Korea could provide: artillery shells, ammunition, missiles, and a partner willing to cooperate despite Western pressure. North Korea needed things Russia could offer: food, fuel, money, diplomatic support, and potentially access to more advanced, military technology. That made the relationship unusually practical. Putin did not need Kim to become a close friend. Kim did not need Putin to trust him completely. Each side simply needed the other to be useful. And that is what made the partnership stronger. The more Russia became isolated from the West, the more valuable North Korea became. And the more sanctions squeezed North Korea, the more important Russia became to Kim. Their cooperation was built on a simple idea. You give me what I need, and I give you what you need in return. Then, in 2023, Kim Jong Un traveled to Russia. He arrived by armored train, a method of travel long associated with North Korea's ruling family. The images were carefully watched around the world. Kim did not just meet Putin. He was taken to see rockets, fighter jets, military facilities, and space technology. Exactly the kinds of capabilities North Korea had spent years trying to improve. For Kim, the visit was more than a diplomatic trip. It offered a rare look at technologies North Korea had long tried to improve. For Putin, the message was just as important. Russia was showing that it was willing to openly welcome a leader heavily sanctioned by the West. The symbolism was clear. Two isolated governments were no longer standing alone. They were beginning to stand together. Then, in June 2024, Vladimir Putin traveled to Pyongyang. It was his first visit to North Korea in more than 2 decades. Kim Jong Un welcomed him with carefully staged ceremonies, flags, crowds, and powerful images of the two leaders standing side by side. But this visit was about much more than symbolism. Russia and North Korea signed a new strategic partnership agreement promising deeper cooperation in areas including security, trade, and military affairs. The message was impossible to miss. Their relationship had moved beyond occasional meetings. It was becoming something much more serious. For Kim, Putin's visit showed that North Korea was no longer completely isolated. For Putin, it showed that Russia still had partners willing to stand with Moscow despite Western pressure. And for the United States, South Korea, and Japan, the visit raised a much bigger question. How far were Russia and North Korea now willing to go for each other? So why does this relationship worry Washington, Seoul, and Tokyo so much? There are 3 main reasons. First, North Korea could provide Russia with more ammunition, missiles, and military supplies for the war in Ukraine. Second, Russia could help North Korea improve technology related to missiles, satellites, air defense, or other advanced military systems. And third, the relationship could strengthen a wider network of countries already challenging American influence. Russia and North Korea are not alone. China and Iran also have their own conflicts with the United States. That does not mean they form one perfect alliance, but their interests are increasingly overlapping. And for America, South Korea, and Japan, that is the real danger. Separate rivals may slowly begin acting more like partners. But do Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong Un actually trust each other? Probably not completely. In international politics, relationships between leaders are rarely built on friendship alone. They are built on interests, pressure, and survival. Putin sees North Korea as useful because it can provide military support, political backing, and another way to resist Western pressure. Kim sees Russia as useful because Moscow can offer energy, economic help, diplomatic protection, and access to technology. That does not mean either man will give the other everything he wants. Both leaders are cautious, both protect their own power first, and both understand that alliances can change when interests change. So, the real strength of this relationship does not come from personal trust. It comes from necessity. Putin does not need Kim to be his friend. Kim does not need Putin to fully trust him. They only need one thing, for the other side to remain useful. And for now, that is enough to keep them close. But there is one problem with viewing Russia as Kim's most important partner. It isn't. China is. China remains North Korea's most important economic partner and one of its strongest political supporters. It also has a deep strategic relationship with Russia. But Beijing has its own interests. China wants stability on the Korean Peninsula. It does not want war, chaos, or a sudden crisis near its border. So if Russia and North Korea move too close, China may watch carefully. Too much military cooperation could create new tensions with the United States, South Korea, and Japan. That means this story is not only about Putin and Kim. It is also about a larger triangle of power: Russia, North Korea, and China. And in that triangle, Beijing may be the most important player of all. Over time, Russia and North Korea moved from distant partners to something much more important. Their relationship had deep historical roots, but for years it remained limited. Then, the world around them changed. North Korea became more isolated because of its nuclear program. Russia became more isolated after its confrontation with the West and the war in Ukraine. Step by step, their interests began to align. Moscow needed military supplies, political support, and partners willing to resist Western pressure. Pyongyang needed energy, economic help, technology, and diplomatic protection. That mutual need created a stronger bond. What began as cautious diplomacy slowly became strategic cooperation. The two countries did not become close because they suddenly shared the same ideology. They became close because each side saw value in the other. And that may be the most important lesson in this story. Isolation did not push Russia and North Korea apart. It pushed them together. And the real question now is not whether Putin and Kim trust each other. It is how far necessity will push them next.